Josh Ward, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Great to be with you guys.
Yeah, we certainly do appreciate it. And Josh, we were digging into a couple of different things, and one is very relevant to you in that you recently had Phil Steele on, and I read some of the quotes. Somebody aggregated part of the quotes, and he seemed very, very high on Tennessee. So and that they would challenge Georgia. So let me set you up, share what Phil Steele said, and then I want to share where he has Tennessee ranked because they seem to conflict a little bit. But if you could first start with what Phil Steele said.
Yeah, he does expect Tennessee to contend in the SEC East. Now, contend and win are two different things. But last year, Phil was very high on Tennessee's offense. He began the conversation by pointing out that he predicted 45 points a game for Tennessee a year ago and ended up being short of how good Tennessee's offense was. But he's high on Tennessee, the depth of the offense, especially at wide receiver. Part of that because of the arrival of Dante Thornton. Because when you hear, wait a minute, depth at receiver, don't they have to replace the Biletnikoff Award winner in Jalen Hyatt and then Cedric Tillman, who may have been their best wide receiver on the team, especially over the last 2 years, both of those guys off to the NFL. But the arrival of Dante Thornton has generated buzz, and that's not necessarily news to Tennessee fans, but Phil, he tries to talk to every coach of every team, and he actually ended up talking to Joey Halzle instead of Josh Heupel. But Halzle's the new offensive coordinator and has been the quarterback's coach. And I think from that conversation, Phil drew that, okay, Dante Thornton's probably going to play an important role in this offense. So Phil is again expecting a lot of points. But within the schedule, Texas A&M is his biggest surprise team. And that might be one reason that while he expects Tennessee to contend in the East and maybe be number 2 to Georgia, he doesn't have Tennessee beating Georgia out to win the SEC East.
So he has Tennessee 19 in his preseason rankings. I mean, to me, challenging the preeminent program right now in college football, I would think they'd be at least more around 10. You may have known that, you may not, but does that surprise you? Did that surprise you?
So when we talked to him last week, I did not know Tennessee's ranking yet in the magazine. Had not seen a copy yet. So, yeah, that surprised me based on the conversation we had about what he expects out of Tennessee, because if Tennessee finishes 19th and that let's say that's at the end of the regular season, that is likely 8-4. So Tennessee would have gone 4-4 in conference, we'll assume, because I'm going to give Tennessee a win against Virginia and the other 3 non-conference opponents. So if Tennessee goes 4-4 in the SEC, that means they've suffered a couple of losses against teams that right now fans are saying we better beat those teams. One could be Texas A&M, which would be disappointing but not be stunning. But then that means somebody else in the East, Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky, Missouri on the road. None of those games are games that I'm hearing Tennessee fans right now talk about losing. So that would be really disappointing in a number of ways if that's how it plays out, aside from injuries blowing up the season.
Sure. And I mean, I guess that could happen, but I was
that's
surprised.
Not part of the prediction here. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see 19. Just coincidentally, I read somebody that aggregated your interview and then saw the 19 like within an hour. So anyway, Caleb, go right ahead.
Yeah, Josh, it's funny you bring that up because I was paying attention. I've been following Phil Steele for 20 years now. And the only time I ever remember him getting Tennessee like dead wrong was 2002, and you guys probably remember that year. He had them number 1, and then they finished 8-5. But that was like I still have not seen a team get wrecked by injuries like the 2002 Vols did. But he has had a pretty good read on Tennessee over the past 2 decades in terms of when other teams rate them high and he thinks they're overrated, he gets proven right, I guess, a lot of times. So how much of this is a concern given his track record of accuracy on Tennessee specifically since 2005?
Well, a little bit. I'd like to go back and have a follow-up knowing the ranking after the fact, and maybe there wasn't as much thought put into the rankings as there was the team information, because his comments, and by the way, Phil knew that he was on the radio at Knoxville. He might have played up his compliments of the team, knowing that he was talking to listeners in Knoxville who are Tennessee fans. At the end of the conversation, he also said, though, hey, fans have to be happy. When I said, hey, you can go check out the magazine, he promoted where you can find it. And I said, hey, Phil, thanks. Always great to have you on the show each summer. And he, before saying goodbye, said fans have to be excited. So I think he has a genuine good feeling about Tennessee's football team and especially the offense. Again, to go back to Texas A&M, he is high on the Aggies, and that is a team on Tennessee's schedule. So he may be of the opinion that 9-3 would land Tennessee that far back in the ranking, or he may look at how should a team be ranked right now, not necessarily what the schedule will be. People have different opinions of how they put together a ranking, but to me, 19 is low based on the compliments he gave to Tennessee's football team. And it's also lower than most off-season rankings I've seen. We won't get the official polls. I say official as if they mean something, but we won't get the polls until August. But of the different publication rankings, 19 is about as low as I've seen.
No, and Phil absolutely loves to use acronyms in his magazine because words are just too long. So I'll go ahead and give him this.
What the? What was he thinking? Release the hounds. The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
I use that because the kids send the WTH. That's what the kids do in text. That's an acronym. Do you use what acronym do you use in text that you probably...
It's definitely WTF.
Oh, is it? Is it WTF or WTH, Josh? What do you use?
Yeah, WTF. Yeah. I think that one's much more common. I don't know that I've ever received or sent. I'm sure I've never sent. I don't think I've ever received a WTH either.
Josh, Dave is totally Phil. You guys all watch Modern Family, right?
No,
I have. Yeah, for sure.
So the very first Modern Family episode in 2009, Phil's like, I'm the cool dad. That's my thing. I text. I know all the acronyms. WTF, why the face? And I'm like, that's totally Dave.
I remember that, yeah.
Well, it's an homage on my show to Norm Macdonald, who on his one season of the sports show actually had a What the H segment. So I'm going with WTH, and I don't have to be cool. Josh's appearance is brought to you by Craft Treats. Go to crafttreats.com, and you can save 20% on any of their products, including the CBD pet products that will help with your pet's digestive issues, arthritis, or anxiety. Use the promo code OFFTHEHOOK. Promo code OFFTHEHOOK. Get 20% off at crafttreats.com. Again, crafttreats.com. So where do you think, Josh, Tennessee will be preseason?
Preseason rank, I would guess outside the top 10. I would say somewhere between 11 to 15. Maybe outside the top 15, but 11 to 15, somewhere in that range is my guess.
I'm at 12, so we're in the same place. Josh, we don't have FCC regulation, so Travis asked, what does WTF mean? Do you want to go ahead and throw that out there?
Well, if you know what the F word is, then it's removing word and just relying on the F, and then you can figure it out from there.
Right. Okay. So we're all in agreement, I think, around 10 to 14, 15, somewhere in there. So that's
definitely
good.
Not seeing 19.
No, I just don't see 19 in preseason rankings. And if Tennessee finishes in 19th this year, I think with what Josh said, it will be a massive disappointment. Okay.
And I will add that Tennessee's in a position from a pollster standpoint, those that are going to be voting on it, because it's just a collection of that. How many points can you accumulate? Tennessee is still a program where I think a lot of people are asking, okay, are they really back? Or was that, okay, they found Hendon Hooker, who was great. They had a Biletnikoff Award winner. They had this offensive tackle. I don't know how much Darnell Wright gets factored in. Probably not as much as he should, in fact.
Agreed.
But knowing those guys are gone does leave a question of, okay, Joe Milton's back, but I don't recall thinking too many good things about Joe the last time he was the starter. I don't know that that's fair, but that'll be the mindset of some saying, okay, Tennessee has to prove it. But so many programs have so many questions, and Tennessee's offense, I think, gets a benefit of the doubt that even if it takes a step back, which is likely, it's still a top 10 offense nationally, which would make it really difficult for Tennessee to be worse than a top 15 team, I think, considering the depth and development of players on defense. So if Tennessee's outside the top 15, I think that is too harsh of a prediction of what Joe Milton will be at quarterback. But we'll find out. There'll be plenty that vote Tennessee outside the top 15. I think the average of it will have Tennessee inside.